So hello everybody. This is another episode here. We're doing a health expert series. So I'm just interviewing different health practitioners as well. So today I've had the privilege of having my coworker and also my colleague Megan over here. She's a holistic clinical nutritionist, and she works in our clinic alongside, and she sees many patients for diet as well, but also a mom of two. So Megan, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks for having me, Bob. It's good to.
Yeah. So can you give the audience a brief introduction about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so as Bob mentioned, I am a mum of two small boys. I've been a clinical nutritionist for about 9 years now, working out of, I've been at Vive that whole time. But I also have home clinic and I've been doing online consults. I've been doing online consults for a few years, but fully online since the world's been a bit different. Prior to that, I started out in law, and I've always wanted to help people, and I thought law was going to be the way to do that, and discovered it really wasn't what sat with me. I've been interested in health, cooking, fitness, and went, maybe I want to do something more in a natural health capacity, and being way more people than law would have really done.
Yeah, for you.
Okay. More on a person for me.
And how did you discover nutrition? Was it always something in the back of your mind, or was there a certain aha moment? What was the story behind that?
It's always been in the back of my mind. I've been cooking since my first memory of cooking was probably at the age of 6, like stovetop cooking. And I've always been interested in cooking my entire life. That was a big thing. I considered being a chef, but I think I was more drawn to how could I help people with food besides just cooking for them. And I've always been sort of naturally minded and been aware of the health benefits of food. So when I was sort of deciding, do I want to keep doing law? I was 3 years into a law degree, and I worked law for 15 years in an administration capacity. But I really sat down and went, how will my interests help people? So I went, I knew a couple of people that had started studying naturopathy and nutrition at the time, and I went, yeah, that's definitely what I think my passion is and where my interest is. And it's definitely, it's exactly the right fit for me. I've never looked back.
Right.
And definitely have not looked back going to law.
I think the interesting thing about clinical nutrition is it's such an overlooked aspect of medicine. I remember when I was dating an ex-girlfriend, she was in medical school, and literally there was less than 3 hours of nutrition, like of training on how to eat. But that's why there's such an epidemic of obesity in America. And I don't know about the stats for Australia, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar.
It's pretty similar, yeah. Where we come up, America, then England, then us, I think is pretty close to where we sit with obesity.
And is that something you work with as well, obesity, weight loss?
Yeah, I do. I do a bit of that. I do body composition analysis when I'm in clinic to see what people's body's composition actually is. I've done that with doing weight loss. I've also used that program for people that need to gain weight to make sure they're gaining the right components of fat, muscle, what their fluid's doing. In the past, I did a fair bit of work with bodybuilders doing natural bodybuilding stuff.
Oh, wow.
I don't do so much of that now, but that was quite interesting for a while. That seemed to be a few people were drawn to me at that time, which was very interesting. So I cover lots of things, but that's probably not my key area of interest at the moment.
What would you say? That's always been there. It's been. What would you say is your key interest area right now?
Right now would be digestive health. I specifically do a lot with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And then that also joins in with skin issues. I've worked a lot with a lot of eczema in particular. And then women's health, hormonal health, stress, and I do work with a lot of babies and children, teenagers.
Oh, babies and children as well. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do babies and children usually? What do parents bring them in for usually when they come see you?
Most often that is digestive problems,
Mm.
often a lot of constipation issues, and or skin problems like eczema. It's probably the two main reasons mums will bring in their kids to see me.
Okay, eczema. Do you see quite a bit of acne as well?
A bit of acne, yeah. Probably more eczema seems to be what.
Eczema,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was looking at your website, it was like, oh, you do a variety of things like you mentioned before, skin, food intolerances,
yeah, food
even
insecurity.
sleep disturbances as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Mm.
work with a lot of people on sleep.
Mm.
Because being a holistic nutritionist, I'm encompassing their whole, like I look at every system of their body basically. So even though they might be coming in to ask me about weight loss, I then go and ask them so many other questions to make sure that everything's working. Because, for example, with weight loss, you can't lose weight if you're not sleeping properly or not sleeping at the right time of night. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many different facets for one simple thing. They might be coming into me, but then I find that there's so much more going on that needs addressing.
Yeah. What would you say is the relationship between food and sleep?
Um, that definitely food and sleep, and well, more probably digestion and sleep,
Mm.
um, is a massive link. If you're eating too close to bed,
Mm.
your digestive system wants to start working, and your digestive system really needs to be switched off for you to sleep and do your sleep processes. So, and what you eat before bed can or drink definitely influences sleep. So it's not just the timing of your eating; it is also what you're eating.
Right. So basically what you're eating
Plays
and
a massive role in how you sleep.
so when you're eating and what you're eating before bed basically determines what has a factor as well. I think many people overlook that as well. Like I heard
Yeah.
even somewhere like that your digestive system starts to slow down after 8 p.m. or something. That's what they tell us in Chinese medicine, at least. I don't know from your clinical perspective.
Yeah,
What does?
definitely does start to slow down, part of the circadian rhythm, and
Hmm.
once the melatonin starts kicking in with the nighttime. So I tell most clients that they really need to finish eating whatever it might be at least 1 to 2 hours before bed. 2 hours is optimal.
2 hours optimal. Okay. And what about for
Yeah.
skin? What is the relationship between skin and food?
Most often
Diet and food, sorry.
eczema is very linked to food intolerances, or allergies. A
Hmm.
lot of I do a lot of food intolerance and food allergy testing. That's usually one of the there's something they're reacting to that is then causing their eczema reaction.
Yeah,
So it's a big thing,
that's a
and
big
it
thing
can
as
be
well.
difficult to find that out without doing testing.
And you said you mentioned you worked a little bit with allergies as well. Is that a big one as well?
Yeah, yeah. With allergies, that can be sort of like hay fever, sinus type.
Okay.
I do a lot of people that I reduce their hay fever, like sinus allergy, dramatically.
Right.
That can be with different supplements as well,
Yeah.
not just food. because I work with nutritional supplements as well as medicine. I do a combination of can be that they're deficient in certain nutrients that can help trigger these reactions.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I run into quite often is always people ask me, is there an acupressure point or acupuncture? Does acupuncture work for weight loss? And I kind of like always send a message back like, there's no magic point. If you eat crap, there's nothing I can do. I'm like, go see a nutritionist. They will guide you in the right direction. So if a person were to come to you for weight loss, what would they expect? What would you say your treatment process is when someone comes to see you for inquiring about weight loss?
Well, as I said, I go through quite extensively their
Yeah.
health history. My questionnaire is pretty big. So I'm looking at sort of uncovering why they may be having problems with weight loss. It might not always be that it's their diet or their amount of physical activity. A lot of people are doing the right thing with their diet or with their physical activity. But then I'll do some further investigations to see what their sleep is doing. As we mentioned, I look at their adrenal hormones, whether their cortisol is where it should be, and sometimes I do some other hormone testing. I look at thyroid. I do a lot of functional testing. If I feel it's required, I don't send everyone off for functional testing, but it does definitely have its place. So I really like to investigate why there is that weight problem, or that they feel is a weight problem. And if it is basically just what they are eating and their lack of activity, then I will do well, I do diet plans or food eating plans, I like to call them. Do food eating plans for whatever the situation may be. And I do try to personalize them for all the factors going on with that one person. So if it is a food-related food choices to do with their obesity or being overweight, then we talk about other choices and why they're choosing those foods. And sometimes people are just aware of what their healthier choices are, or they're confused about what's healthy, because the internet can be so confusing.
It is really confusing.
As to what is healthy, 1 minute may not be the next. And I guess that's where a nutritionist plays a good role, because we keep on top of that research. We're constantly doing further education to stay on top of, the changes with research and studies. So
that's kind of crazy. I mean, speaking of confusion and the internet, what's your opinion on diets? Because I know you wrote a very interesting article, I think it was several months back, about the carnivore diet. And there's just so much out there, because you got Atkins, keto, South Beach, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, fishitarian, all the things out there. So how does one begin to even start on figure out what's right for them? And I think that's where your role plays a very important factor as well, right?
Yeah, I'm not closed-minded to any particular one diet, because I don't think any one diet fits everybody. But if someone comes in to see me and they want to look at doing a certain diet, then I go through that diet with them and what it entails and what possible nutritional deficiencies they may get by following whatever diet it is that they've decided might work for them, so that they've got all that information and they know that not like most of these diets are going to be lacking in something, because they're cutting out certain things. So it's just making them aware that if they do that diet, some diets can only be stayed on for a certain period of time and then should be come off, and then they could go on that again, which that's not really put out on the internet with some of these diets, that they should be cycled. They shouldn't just be stuck to for years on end. So I guess with all these different kind of diets, I really try to educate my client as to what it's about. I still give them the option to choose to do it, or from my, my questionnaire, my investigations, we may work out that diet they came in to see me about to get an eating plan for really is not going to suit them after all.
Yeah. Right. I remember there was even several months back, there was all the rage of the medical medium with the celery as well.
The celery juicing.
The celery juicing. Has that passed yet, or is that still like the in thing?
That seems to have died down a little bit,
Okay.
but there's still some people very passionate about the celery juicing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that one is as big as it was.
Right.
The main diet, I suppose, change that I deal with people coming to see me to change over to is changing to a vegan or plant-based diet. I see a lot of people that are wanting to go from eating meat to being plant-based and wanting to make sure they do it right. So
Okay.
I've done quite a few vegan plant-based eating plans, go through what's required to make sure they get similar protein and nutrients once they cut meat out. So that's probably the main one lately that I have seen a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So from what I'm understanding, you generally give the person the options of all the information they need, and basically they make the decision for themselves whether they feel it's right for them. Is that?
Yeah, I do try
Okay.
to leave the person, to decide what's right for them. I give them the
Yeah.
advice that I recommend. I
Yeah.
kind of say, this is my recommendations, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they have to be willing to do whatever it is I recommend for it to be effective for them.
Yeah.
So I really try and make whatever plan we're doing work for them. I tweak the plans so that it's suitable to their taste and what they're open to do.
Yeah.
So
And
that's where it's individualized.
I think one of the most common arguments I get from patients is when I say, "Oh, hey, listen, your blood pressure's through the roof, your numbers are through the roof. Like, have you considered not even cutting out meat, but consuming less red meat?" And they're like, "No, I can't get my protein. I can't. Where do I get my protein from?" Like, what do you say to that when someone says, "I can't get enough protein if I don't have a steak every week or twice a week"?
Well, you can get similar amounts of protein from plant proteins. You just have to combine specific plant proteins together, and then you get a complete protein and the similar makeup of meat from the essential amino acids perspective. So it can be done, but people just have a block that plants have any protein, but some plants are really quite high in protein.
Yeah.
And the thing with plants is we can absorb that protein way better and in higher amounts than we can from meat. Like an example I like to use sometimes, if we had seaweed or algae, because they're a single structure cell, we can absorb about 90% of that protein, where from meat, because it's such a complex cell structure, we can only break down and absorb about 20% of the protein out of that same weight of meat to algae.
And plus, your body probably needs to work hard to digest that as well.
Yeah, generally, most people, not all people, but most people do break down meat a lot harder. It is slower thing to break down compared to fruits, the fastest, then vegetables, and then your meat.
Then your meat as well. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I noticed on your website as well, you do a food of the week, and you also have recipes on there as well.
Yeah, I haven't been up to date with my food of the week so much lately. But yeah, I do try to share recipes on a pretty regular basis, because I'm all about cooking from scratch and making things from scratch, whole foods. So I'm always in the kitchen and I kind of think, oh, what would people like? I wonder if they're interested in this recipe I'm doing. And I'm really about variety and eating different things, not sticking to the same meal,
Yeah.
when Monday to Sunday having those same things each night. I
Yeah.
really rotate what we eat. Sometimes we don't eat the same dish for 3 or 4 months because I'm doing so many different types of
Yeah.
dishes. So yeah, I do like to share those recipes, and
Those
that's
recipes as
how
well.
yeah.
And what would you say? Are you a fan of the food according to the seasons as well? Like, is that something you do as well, or something that you? What's your opinion on that?
I think buying seasonally is very important from a
Mm.
nutrient perspective. You're going to get more nutrients if it's in season. The concern if it's not in season is where is it coming from and
Okay.
how long is it being stored for.
Yeah.
For example, in Australia, it's really clear when mangoes and cherries are in season. They're probably the most obvious ones that really have a very specific season in Australia. So if you see those outside of summer,
Mm.
then they usually come from somewhere like America,
Okay.
which is a lot of time in transit. When was it picked? Like,
Yeah.
it's lost a lot of its nutrient content.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you're looking at carbon miles, but from a nutrient perspective, it's lost a lot of that nutrient because it could be months old.
Mm.
So
That's
that's
probably
where seasonal is very important because it's fresher.
right. Yeah, and that's probably something majority of us don't really think about when purchasing. You just think, okay, is it this? Am I getting my veggies? Am I getting my fruit? Like, no one really thinks about that. Actually, it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seasonal is getting harder to do because there
Mm.
is so much, particularly if you're buying from supermarkets,
Yeah.
that import, it's harder to even know what is in season. I used to do a frequent what's in season each month little article, which I haven't done so much lately, but
Yeah.
that was a good one that I was doing just to remind people that there are seasonal fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, those articles are pretty helpful. I mean, not everyone's so blasted with media and different things. It gets so confusing.
It does.
It's so confusing. Yeah. Well, Megan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. What is the best place to find you? Are you doing Skype consults or primarily? When do you expect to be back in clinic? What's the situation?
So at the moment, I'm doing phone, Skype, and Zoom.
Okay.
Um, I'm hoping that things look like they might be starting to change a little bit in the coming weeks. So I'm hoping to be back in person um, within the next few weeks,
A few weeks.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see what happens.
I think things are fairly positive. I mean, the numbers are looking pretty good in Australia.
Yeah, and things are starting to open up as of this weekend. There's a
Yeah.
few restrictions this weekend, so
Yeah.
I'm really hopeful that
Yeah.
the next weeks I'll be able to get back in person and see people. But I'll still always be available online because I do
Online.
have to
Yeah.
cross the whole country.
Yeah.
I see people in every state, so
Oh, awesome.
that's always an option if people want to do that or prefer to do that or can't come and see me at ViV or my home clinic.
What is so speaking of internet, what is the best way to find you online?
I've got my website balancingnutrition.com.au. I'm also on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So
Okay.
Balance Nutrition is in my name for
Both.
both Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks, Megan. Thanks for taking the time out to talk to us
Thanks so
today.
much
All
to
right,
me.
I'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.